Hi everybody, my name is Fu. Today I will be teaching how to sketch the graph of polynomial function. How to sketch the graph of polynomial function, of which it comes from the calculus topic. So today we will be dealing with one of the calculus topic, of which is polynomial graph. So today we are requested to sketch this graph of f at x is equals to 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 12x minus 9. So I want you to listen me very attentively, because this is one of the easiest topic, but it has some little tricky part somewhere somehow if you don't digest your things clearly and easily. So I want you to make a list of the following things that I'm going to mention on this particular lesson. So guys, to be honest, this is one of the easiest topic, and it has a lot of marks. Like just this question, sketch the graph of cubic function. It's about 9 to 12 marks, if I'm not mistaken, to sketch the graph of cubic function, because it has some difficult somewhere somehow. So let us get to our question without any waste of time. So the first thing that you have to do when approaching this type of a question, the first thing that you have to do, you have to solve for y-intercept. That is the first thing that you have to apply. Even when we are dealing with quadratic equations, or even when we are dealing with functions, quadratic functions, you start with y-intercept, then you go to x-intercept. Normally when sketching graphs, you start with intercept, both x and y-intercept, but specifically we start with y-intercept. So I'm going to start with y-intercept, and we know that when we are looking for y-intercept, we know that we let x is equal to 0. That is the rule of intercept. So I'm going to say y intercept we let x is equal to 0, then we find the value of y. In the place of f at x, we replace y, because we know that f at x is the same as y. So I'm going to say y is equals to 2. In the place of x, I replace 0, because x, we know that it is equal to 0 when we are dealing with intercept of y. So I'm going to substitute 0 cubed plus 3 into x, 0 squared minus 12, this 12 into x, we replace 0, then it's minus 9. So by looking on this equation, we simply can see that our answer is equals to -9. Why -9? Because everything multiplied by 0 is 0. We can see that 2 is multiplied by 0, 3 is multiplied by 0, 12 is multiplied by 0. So this term is going to be 0, this term is going to be 0, this term is going to be 0. We are going to left with only -9. Therefore I can conclude by saying y is equals to -9. So this tell me that our graph, it has to touch on the y axis exact at -9, on the y axis, on the vertical line exact on negative 9, because here we simply can say we have the coordinate of intercept whereby our x is 0 and whereby our 9 is negative 9. So according to this coordinate, we are going to plot them on our graph. Now we are not yet complete our sketching graph. We are still solving our equation. We are still following the procedure of calculus. We are still following the procedure of polynomial equations. So the second step that we are going to apply is to find the x-intercept. This is where most of learners lost their mark, because this is where some tricky part come out, you see. But you will see. Let us try to find that x-intercept. Now we are looking for x-intercept, whereby y is equal to 0. Now y is equal to 0. This simply means in the place of f at x, because remember that I said earlier f at x is the same as y. So in the place of f at x, I'm going to substitute 0 in order for me to get the value of x. But this is where a lot of marks come from. So I want you to look very attentively to this, you see. So let us solve for x now. So we know that f at x is the same as 0. So we are going to say 0 is equal to 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 12x minus 9. But let us try to write this in a standard form of mathematical order, because this is not mathematical order, whereby when I'm saying standard form, whereby we start with equation and we end with 0. We understand that simply means we equate our equation to 0, not 0 to our equation. I think this makes a lot of sense. So we are going to say 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 12x minus 9 is equal to 0. So since when this is our polynomial, we can't have two brackets, or we can't have a factor. We can't have factors. I think this makes sense. When I'm saying we can't have factors, I'm saying we can't have factors because of cubed, because of squared. So the first thing that we have to look out is the factor theorem. The number that you substitute in x, it has to give you 0, because we have already that equate our equation to 0. So we want to find the value that when we substitute that value on x, we get 0, so that our left hand side is the same as the right hand side. That we will know that number is the factor of this equation. So how are we going to get that factor? Let me get my calculator out. So how are we going to get that factor? How are we going to get it? Let me just get my calculator here so that we can see how are we going to get that factor. Okay, here's my calculator. We want the factor of this 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 12x minus 9. So the first thing, we start with 1. We want to see when I substitute 1 in the place of x, and I will get 0. If I don't get 0, that simply means 1 is not factor. I will move to -1. If -1 and 1 they are both not valid, I will be sure that 1 and -1 they are not part of this. Then I will move to the second step, which is -2 and 2. I will try both -2 and 2. If they are not applicable, I will go to the next second step, of which is 3, both -3 and so on and so on, so that I will get the factor of this equation. So I'm going to start with 1. So I'm going to say 2 into what? 2 into 1, because I'm starting with 1, into 1 cubed, and then what? And then we have plus 3. We have plus 3 plus 3 into 1, and then squared, and then minus 12 into 1 minus 9, our last term, minus 9 is equals to 16. You can see that 1 is not our factor. Let us try to find see -1, is it applicable, because we already see that 1 is not applicable. So let me replace negative in front of 1. Oh, sorry about that. All right, then move to here, let me replace -1 and move to here. Where am I? -1. You see, it's 4. So -1, both -1 and 1, they are not applicable. Let me go to second step, of which is 2. Delete and replace 2. In the place of -1, I replace 2, and then in the place of -1, I replace 2. Then we can see that it's -5. So 2 is not applicable. Let me replace negative in front of 2, so that it will be -2, so that I can see whether -2 is applicable, because +2 is not applicable. Maybe this one, it would be applicable. Negative, and negative also. You see, it's 11 answer, so it's not applicable. I'm still looking for the factor, so I'm going to use 3 as my factor now, because I saw that 1 and 2, they are not applicable. So I replace 3. This is easy. This is easy, guys. Relax, we will get our answer. Relax, we will get it. We will get that factor. 3, then 3 again. 3. Look at the calculator now. Don't just look around the way. Look at the calculator. You see the answer is 46. It's still not applicable. I'm still not yet find the factor theorem. So let me go to -3, so that I can see. Let me go to -3. Just replace negative in front of 3, so that it will be nicely -3. Then you see it's equals to, then our answer is 0. Our answer is 0. So I know that when x is equal to what? When x is equal to what? When x is equals to -3. Then when x is equals to -3, that makes our equation be equal. be 0. Ne? So this tell us that x plus 3 is a factor. Is a what? Is a factor. You see, how did I find my x plus 3 is a factor? You see, that is easy. It's just that people are lazy. People are lazy in the exam. We are hesitate to be done or to complete our exam. I don't know why, of which is going to kill us that day. So without any waste of time, because I don't have enough space on my phone, so let me just wrap a main important thing so that we can get clear steps of how to sketch a graph of polynomial. So now we get that x plus 3 is a factor, ne? So we have our factor as negative 3. Then the second step, we apply what you called factor. Sorry about the spelling. We apply what you called factor theorem. Of which lies under the synthetic division. This is where tricky part comes from. So listen very, very attentively. Now I'm applying something difficult, something different to what we apply on our daily basis of mathematics. So we are applying synthetic division. Yeah? We are applying synthetic division. Let me just fix my things properly, because I'm still starting this thing of video shooting and teaching people, you see. So, but without any waste of time, let us get to main fact. So what we are going to say, we are going to apply the division line here. And write that our factor here, of which is negative 3. Oh, it seems like my pen, it's not. It's negative 3. Then here we only write the coefficient of the variables, or the coefficient of our term from our original equation. Here is our original equation. We only write the coefficient with their sign. If it is positive, I write this as it is. If it is negative, I write this as it is, guys. So I'm going to write only coefficient. The coefficient of the first term is how much? Is 2. Then the coefficient of the second term is how much? Is 3. It's positive 3. The coefficient of the third term is how much? Is negative 12. It's negative 12. The coefficient of the last term, or of the constant term, it's negative 9. It's negative 9. Then I draw a line here. Underneath my values. Then the first thing I'm going to follow the procedure of factor theorem by applying synthetic division. You understand? So what the steps or rules of factor theorem says the first term, or the first coefficient, you write down as it is. I'm going to write these 2 underneath of these 2 as it is. I'm going to write 2 here, you see. Then after writing these 2 as it is, the first term, I'm going to multiply these 2 with negative 3. Then I will be saying negative 3 multiplied by negative 2, it will be negative 6. Then I write that negative 6 underneath of 3, not underneath of 2, because I have already put that 2 underneath of that 2 itself. So I'm not gonna be able to write that negative 6 underneath of that 2. So I'm going to have negative 6 here. I'm going to have negative 6 here. And then I'm going to say 3 minus 6 is how much? It's negative 3. It's negative 3. It's negative 3. Then negative 3 multiplied by negative 3 is positive 9. It's positive 9. You see how I'm writing my values. Then positive 9. Then negative 12 plus 9 is how much? It's negative 3 again. It's negative 3 again. Then 3, the very same 3, negative 3 multiplied by negative 3, it's how much? It's 9 again. It's 9. It's 9. Then negative, no, 9, negative 9 plus 9, it's 0. Then you just put a dot here to show that there is no term here, because this, the moment I write down, or the moment I bring down this value, is the moment I'm making this coefficient quadratic number, not polynomial number. This is squared number. The moment I drop down this number here, now I'm having negative 3. It's second term of the quadratic equation, of which is gonna be negative 3x. Then this is the constant term of the quadratic equation. So after finding this value, I'm not yet find my x, because remember that I am solving for x. I'm looking for x because I'm solving for x intercept. I'm still on the x intercept, don't forget that, whereby y is equals to 0. Then I'm going to multiply that x plus 3 with this quadratic equation, because x plus 3 is a factor of x is equals to negative 3. So I'm going to say x plus 3 into bracket, and then 2 is gonna be 2x squared, then negative 3x, then negative 3 again. Then we have this type of equation. In order for you to be sure, these values are applicable to this equation, try to revise this, try to simplify this, in order, not factorize it before, simplify it, go it to check whether it's gonna give you the very same thing as it is from the first. You see, you are checking whether your values are appropriate or are valid. So how are we going to check it? We are going to multiply everything on the first bracket with everything on the second bracket. But how are we going to do that? I'm going to multiply the first term on the first bracket with everything on the second bracket, and then the second term on the first bracket same applies to first term. You understand? So I'm going to multiply this x with 2x squared. So I'm gonna having 2x cubed. Then multiply this x with negative 3x. Then I'm gonna having 3x squared. Then again multiply this x with negative 3. Then I will be having negative 3x. I'm checking. Remember, I'm not solving. I'm just checking whether my values are appropriate. These values here, whether are appropriate, because they stand for quadratic equation. Then again I'm going to multiply this 3 with this 2x. So I'm going to have 3 multiplied by 2 is positive 6x squared, because this 2 it has x squared. Then 3 multiplied by negative 3 is gonna be negative 9x. Then 3 multiplied by negative 3 is gonna be negative 9. Then let us add our like terms. Is there anything that is like to this term? Cubed? No, there is no cubed. We only have this one term, of which is our cubed. Then I write it as it is, 2x cubed. Then we are going to have negative 3x squared. Then is the same as 6x squared. Then negative 3 plus 6 is gonna be negative 3 plus 6 is the same as 6 minus 3. So I'm gonna have in positive 3x squared. Then this is the same as this. Then negative 9 minus 9 is the same as minus 12x. Then we left with minus 9. Then is this the same as this. Yes, it is. We have 2x cubed, we have 2x cubed, we have 3x squared plus positive 3x squared as our second term. We have positive 3x squared as our second term. Then we have negative 12x as our third term. Then we have negative 12 as our third term. Then we have negative 9 as our constant. Then we have our negative 9 as our constant. Then I am sure this is 100% correct. So then from here I can factorize this. So that I can get the value of x. I can factorize it so that I can get the value of x. I can factorize it so that I can get the value of x. So without any waste of time, let me get to it. All right, without any waste of time, let us solve for x here. Then we are going to say we have x plus 3 is equals to 0, or 2x squared minus 3x minus 3 is equals to 0. Here we know that x is the same as negative 3, or what? Or let us solve this by looking at this quadratic equation. I can conclude by saying there is no factors here. So what I'm going to do is to apply quadratic formula, whereby I'm going to say x is equals to negative, then we know here it's the second term, it's going to be negative 3. It is negative 3. It's going to be negative 3 plus or minus. You see, so we're gonna say again root of the very same negative 3 squared minus 4 into the first term is 2 into the last term is negative 3, negative what? Negative 3, then divide all by what? By 2 into first term, of which is 2. Therefore let us get our values of x. We're gonna say a fraction negative open bracket negative 3 close the bracket. Let us start with positive, and then root of open bracket negative 3 squared minus 4 into 2 into negative 3. Yes, it's negative 3, and then close the bracket. Then let us go down, of which is gonna be 2 into 2 close the bracket is equals to, and we have 2, 19, or as x is negative, we're gonna have, let us change this sign here, make it negative so that we can see if it's negative what we have. This sign here, let me delete it, replace with negative. Then we have what? We have negative 0, we have negative we have negative 0, negative 0 comma, sorry about my writing, negative 0 comma 6 6 9 6 9. Then we have this answers. Yeah, we have that answers. We have this answer here, we have this answer here, we have that answer here of, we have that answer of negative 3 there. Then we did solve our x, so what we are going to do is to find the stationary point. You understand? How are we going to find the stationary point? Remember that we have what? We have f at x is equals to 2x remember that we have this equation. So after finding the x-intercept, or remember that we are dealing with the sketching of polynomial. After finding the values of x-intercept and y-intercept, we have to find the stationary point. What are the stationary points? The stationary points are the turning points of our graph. So the first thing of when we want to find the stationary point, we have to differentiate this equation. We have to find the first derivative of this function. So we are going to say 2 multiplied by this is going to be 6x squared, then 2 multiplied by this plus 6x, then this is going to be minus 12. Then from here we know that at stationary point f at x is equal to 0. So we are going to let this is equal to 0, then solve for x from here. Then we are going to say at stationary point f at x is equals to 0. Then we are going to say 6x squared plus 6x minus 12 is equals to 0. Then solve for x from here. Then as you can see, I can divide by 6 both sides here. This cancel this, I left with x squared. This cancel this, I left with plus x. This cancel this, I left with 2 is equals to 0. Then I factorize this with two different squares or perfect squares. This is gonna be x, this is gonna be x. Don't forget this is 2 here, this is 2 here. I'm gonna say 2, I'm gonna say 1, then this is gonna be minus, this is gonna be positive, and then x plus 2 is equals to 0, or x minus 1 is equals to 0. Therefore x is equals to negative 2, or x is equals to 1. X is equal to 1. Then after finding these values, we substitute these values from our original equation in order for us to get y corresponding values of x. Do you understand it? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna first substitute negative 2 here. I'm gonna say I don't have space, but I will write it just underneath of this. I'm gonna say f of negative 2 is gonna be 2 into negative 2 cubed plus 3 into negative 2 squared minus 12 into negative 2, and then minus 9. Then what is the answer of this? Of corresponding y value? Let me get my calculator. It's 2 into negative 2 cubed plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 into negative 2. I think I'm running out of space. Guys. It's going to be mess. And then minus what? Minus 12 into negative 2, then minus what? Minus 9, and my answer for this is gonna be 11. It's gonna be 11. Then same applies to this one. Then after finding these values, we have to find the point of inflection. Guys, I don't have space. I don't know what I'm gonna do. This is telling me that I don't have enough space. But let me keep recording. It's gonna cut me off. So same applies to this one. It's gonna be f at 1. F at 1 is gonna be 2 into 1 cubed plus 3 into 1 squared minus 12 into 1 minus 9. Then the answer of this is the corresponding y values. Then let me just substitute that 1 1